Hello and warm welcome. Today's video is about Hungarian citizenship. If you're already living in Hungary or plan to live in Hungary for a long time, you have a Hungarian citizen as a close relative, or you are a descendant of a Hungarian citizen, you might be interested in this video. What I'm going to cover today are three topics. Firstly, the benefits of Hungarian citizenship. Four different pathways to citizenship, and last but not least, how to get started. Hungarian citizenship comes with many benefits, and here are just few of them. Firstly, Hungary is part of the European Union, which is basically a bloc of 27 European countries. It allows a freedom to travel, to work, live, and retire in these 27 European countries. There is also an great possibilities for getting education at steep discount or even free in many of these countries for European citizens. And there are obviously some health benefits as well. For example, as a resident citizen, you can get a European health insurance card, which you can use in the other European countries of where be excellent healthcare for absolutely no cost. Obviously, there are certain restrictions associated with it, but in general, it is a great benefit. There are many more benefits which you can learn about. With that, I move on to the next important topic, which is path to Hungarian citizenship. So there are four different ways in a person by which a person can get Hungarian citizenship. The most simplest one of that is by birth or by adoption. Any any person born to a Hungarian citizen, regardless where the birth took place, is a Hungarian by birth. There are two other possibilities where Hungarian citizenship is acquired on birth. One is if a person is born to a stateless person residing in Hungary, or born to unknown parents but the child is found in Hungary. In all these three cases, the child acquires citizenship by birth, and all that is needed to get the process started is the birth certificate. Second pathway is quite interesting. It is through ancestry. So, if a person is descendant of a person who was a Hungarian citizen before 1920, there is a possibility to apply for citizenship, simplified process for citizenship. What is interesting here is that in 1920, Hungary was much bigger than it is today. So many areas which are currently part of Ukraine, Slovakia, Romania, and even Serbia were once part of Hungary. And if you can prove that your at least one of your ancestor came from there, you're eligible for simplified citizenship. What is even more good news is that the person does not have to reside in Hungary, and you're allowed to keep your existing citizenship in addition to Hungarian citizenship. So these are all the benefits of and possibilities of getting Hungarian citizenship using this pathway. Third pathway is also very interesting, And this is because of some complicated history of Hungary. So between 1940s and 1990s, many people lost Hungarian citizenship when they moved out of Hungary or for some other reasons. So the law was amended to allow these people to regain their Hungarian citizenship. This method of acquiring Hungarian citizenship is also applicable for people who did not acquire citizenship at birth and the person is less than 19 years old and have been living in Hungary for the last 5 consecutive years. So this is a simplified way of naturalization. It's a third pathway of acquiring Hungarian citizenship. And now I move to the fourth and the final pathway of acquiring Hungarian citizenship, which is also called uh, the classic naturalization. The first of the few ways of this is basically based on completing residency requirement. So if a person has been living in Hungary for 8 consecutive years, has clean criminal record, and can prove livelihood and housing in Hungary, and last but not least, um, passes the basic constitutional studies exam, that person is eligible to apply for citizenship. So this is one of the residency-based naturalization possibility. The next of that is basically a reduced requirement for 5 years. And this is applicable for people who were born in Hungary. And then there is a third possibility, which is for only residency requirement for only 3 years. This is applicable for the people who are married to a Hungarian citizen for at least 3 years, or the marriage unfortunately ended due to the death of spouse. This possibility is also available if a person has a minor child who is a Hungarian citizen. And lastly, if a person was adopted by a Hungarian citizen or the person has been recognized by Hungarian authorities as a refugee or stateless person. So these are the three residency-based naturalization possibilities. Just to repeat, 8 years, 5 years, and 3 years. What I'm going to talk about next is that this residency requirement is a bit tricky. So what usually happens if people who arrive from non-European, non-EU countries, they usually get this paper-based address registration card instead of this plastic address card. The implication of this is that the paper-based address card is not considered in the residency requirement. And usually after only 3 years, when these people acquire permanent residency status, they get this address card. And it is only when their time starts to count. So this is a very important um, information which is not usually very clear to most people. So in short, so a person who is applying for a normal classic citizenship after 8 years, actually what happens is they usually spend 3 initial years in order to get this plastic address card, and then the 8 years start from here. So usually the length of time is about 3 plus 8, which is about 11 years. One other topic which I would like to clarify here is the requirement for completing the constitutional studies. So this is applicable if someone is applying on the basis of residence completing residency requirements of 8, 5, or 3 years respectively. Good to know information is that certain people are exempted from this exam. So people who have not are not adults or are over 60 years of age do have limited legal capacity or otherwise incapacitated, for example, due to health problems. And lastly, a person who has either completed primary or higher education in a Hungarian institution. So all of these people are exempted from taking this exam. Now I would explain the last possibility under classic naturalization, and this does not require any residency requirement. So a person who has been married for Hungarian for 10 years or married for about 5 years and has a child together, that person can apply for getting Hungarian citizenship. There is absolutely no requirement for residency. A person can be living anywhere. What is important to know is that there will still be a requirement to have a clean criminal record and also give evidence for um, livelihood, housing, and of course, knowledge of the Hungarian language. So this covers our 4 pathways and all the different options within this pathway. Lastly, I am covering the third part of this presentation, which is how to get started. So firstly, determine one of the 4 citizenship pathways which is applicable to you. Secondly, collect all the documentation required. And the third step is to apply at Hungarian missions abroad if you're not living in Hungary, or apply at the documentation office, otherwise known as Kormányi Oblak. I'll be posting more information about this process, so please stay tuned. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you again, and I wish you a nice day.